Just said, my name is Ellen Bransenberg, and I'm the Director of Secretariat Operations here at the World Food Prize. And I oversee the nominations process for the World Food Prize and for the Borlaug Field Award. So you can see my contact information here on this slide, and please do feel free to contact me at any point if you have any questions, even after the webinar is over. So we will also have a copy of the webinar that will be posted on our website afterwards, so you'll be able to refer back to it. This webinar will be about submitting a nomination for the Borlaug Field Award, and we are hoping that you will all be submitting a nomination for a worthy recipient. And so a little bit about the award is it is to recognize exceptional science-based achievement in agriculture and food production by an individual under 40. So it was endowed by the Rockefeller Foundation in 2011, and it's a $10,000 award for the recipient. And it is meant to be in memory of Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and meant to recognize other young professionals who showed the same determination and intellectual courage that Dr. Borlaug did when he was a young scientist working in Mexico. The award ceremony for this award, the Borlaug Field Award, is each October around World Food Day, and it's in conjunction with our International Borlaug Dialogue. It's usually the same week as the award ceremony for the World Food Prize as well. And it takes place usually at the World Food Prize Hall of Laureates here in Des Moines, Iowa. And we are crossing our fingers, hoping that we will actually be able to have the award ceremony in person this year. But if not, we will have it virtually as we did last year. You can find our award ceremony from last year on our YouTube page and see what it was. So I'm going to start with talking about the nominee criteria a little bit, and we'll go on and talk about who can nominate and how to nominate, what documentation you need in order to create a nomination. So the nominee should be one individual under the age of 40. So they should have yet to turn 40 years old by World Food Day of this year. So they'll receive the award. They would, if they're chosen, they would receive the award before turning 40. And it's meant to be a science-based achievement and for an individual who is actively working in their discipline or field or area. And we're particularly looking for candidates who are working in the field, so to speak, or at the production or the processing level with farmers or livestock owners or food processors or people in rural communities. And it can be at any point in the food system. So some of the kind of keywords that we're looking for that you should be thinking about when you're submitting nomination materials are these criteria: persistence, innovation, communication, research and science, extension, education, application, leadership, and impact. So these are all, we hope that you can give us examples of how the nominee fulfills all of these criteria. And there is more information on our website about that kind of details each of these sort of 9 areas specifically. But so for nominators, they can be any individual or organization. Nominations that come from an organization should be endorsed or signed by an executive officer of that organization. And nominators should have a direct knowledge of the nominee's work and provide examples in the documentation of that work. And we cannot accept self-nominations. So nominees can't nominate themselves, but there should be plenty of people that they could find to help nominate them. So, so the initial information that we will ask for is the nominator's contact information, and then also the nominee's contact information and some basic biographical information as well. So the curriculum vitae, CV, or a resume of the nominee, as well as the nominee's date of birth and their country that they're from. And then one of the larger parts of the nomination is the statement of work. It can be up to 3,000 words long, and this is going to describe in detail the nominee's work and accomplishments and how the nominee demonstrates the criteria, those keywords that we listed before, and the impact and the results of the nominee's work. So this is probably the most important part of the nomination, to really get into detail and tell us what the nominee has done and the reasons why the nominee deserves to be awarded the Borlaug Field Award. The letters, there should be 3 letters, one nomination letter from the nominator, and then 2 letters of support from others. So no more than 2 supporting letters, please. I know if you're familiar with the World Food Prize nomination process, more than 2 letters can be submitted, but in this case, we're asking for only 2 letters of support. And the letters should be on letterhead and signed and dated. And the writer's position and organization should also be included on the letter. And ideally, these letters should describe, explain, and emphasize the achievements of the nominee as well. So the letters should be from people who know the nominee and their work and can describe their work and give examples of their work and the impacts that have come from that work. We also ask for 1 headshot photo of the nominee, and you can also submit 2 action photos if you wish. The action photos are optional. If you do decide to submit an action shot, it's good if you can also include a caption to describe what's going on in the photo. And submission is online. Our submission portal is called Reviewer, and in Reviewer, it will ask you to create a password, and then you can log in at any time to Reviewer and continue to update the nomination. If you have part of your nomination ready and you go in and start the nomination, but you're not ready to submit it yet, you can save the nomination and then later on come back and sign back in and finish the nomination and then submit. So all the documents need to be uploaded separately as separate documents, separate files. And then you'll have to upload all of the documents before clicking the submit button on the portal. So it won't let you submit if you haven't filled out all of the required fields. The submit, you must click the submit button in order to actually have it registered as being submitted. So if you save it, but you don't submit it, then it won't come to me. It'll just save it and wait for you to finish it later. So a little bit about our nomination process. June 15th is our deadline to submit. If you're familiar with the World Food Prize nomination process, for the World Food Prize, we do allow extensions for nominations, but in the case of the Borlaug Field Award, we don't grant extensions for submitting a nomination. So it's important to hit the deadline of June 15th because we cannot, unfortunately, grant extensions to that deadline. The nominees that are submitted remain eligible beyond the year of their nomination at the discretion of the jury. So they can remain eligible all the way until they turn 40. And then, of course, after the nominee turns 40, they're no longer eligible for the award. You don't necessarily need to submit updates for the nominee to remain eligible for the award, but we do encourage updates and we are happy to receive updates. They're very useful for the jury to make their decision because especially at this point in a nominee's career, they are doing more and more things every year. So there's plenty that has happened each year. I know that can be new information that the jury would want to know. So the nominations are evaluated by an independent jury of experts, scientists who are experts in international agriculture, food production, nutrition, the full range. And it is chaired by Dr. Ronnie Kaufman, who is the head of the International Programs Department at Cornell University. And then in August or September, the recipient is announced. And then in October is the award ceremony near October 16th, World Food Day. So that is the quick rundown of the Borlaug Field Award nominations process. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask or put them in the chat. And I'm happy to answer questions right now. But if something occurs to you after the webinar, my contact information is here, and please feel free to reach out to me anytime to ask questions.
Hi, Ellen.
Hello.
This is Catherine. Thank you for the overview. I just wanted to ask about the 3,000 words. So if if someone is nominating someone, or suppose an individual gets multiple nominations, can they use that same? Do they have to write those 3,000 words themselves and then send to these multiple people that are nominating them, or just one?
So all of the materials, the statement of work, the 3,000 word statement of work, and the letters, the nomination letter and the 2 supporting letters and the CV and all the other information needs to be submitted through an online portal. So it's easier if just one person is in charge of submitting all of that information. So it's easier for one person to gather all of those documents together and to submit those documents. So we're not asking that each of the 3 people who are writing letters, the nominator who's writing the nomination letter, and then the 2 supporting nominators who are writing the 2 supporting letters, they don't all have to submit a separate nomination. They just have to give their letter to the person who is going to be submitting the nomination. Does that answer?
Yes, that makes sense. So it's actually one. What if there are multiple nominations with their 2 supporting letters, or you don't accept that?
We do. Sometimes that does happen if 2 different nominators happen to nominate the same person. Sometimes that does happen. And so that would be 2 different sets of information. Maybe if the nominee is working together with both of the nominators, they'll they would maybe tell them about each other so that they know of each other. But I suppose that the statements of work in that case could probably be pretty similar.
Okay, yeah, that was my question, because suppose so one person is currently working with a particular institution, but they had previous employment, and
Mhm.
those people also want to nominate the person,
Yeah,
because the support letters that go with that application are different from this current one. So those will be two separate nominations, but that statement of purpose can still be the same.
yes. That's another thing that does happen that you brought up is sometimes there will be a nominee who's nominated by one organization in 1 year, and then maybe 1 or 2 years later they change employers and they have a different nomination that comes through for them, and that's it's a different nomination, comes from a different nominator. Oftentimes the statement of work may be similar, but updated because the nominee has done more things in the last year or so since they were first nominated. So
Oh, okay.
they have updated information.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, looks like there is a question in the chat from Joy, and she asks that I mentioned submit documents separately, so that means I do not merge the PDF files into one document. That's correct, Joy. You don't need to merge PDF files into one document. They should each be separate documents. So there will be a separate statement of work, a separate nomination letter, the two supporting letters should be separate, the CV should be separate, and they'll all be uploaded into the fields separately. So you don't need to merge them together. All right, if there are other questions, I am more than happy to answer them. But thank you all for coming and for your interest in nominating someone for the Borlaug Field Award. I hope that you are all planning on completing a nomination. If you have any questions for me, or if there's anything that I can do to be of assistance to you, do feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is still on the screen, I hope. And let me know if I can answer any questions for you.
I would just like to say thank you. Thank you, Ellen, for this very informative webinar. It really helps me understand further how to submit the nominations. Unlike before, I was just trying to work it out on my own. Now this is more clear, and I feel your assistance is also there. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Joy. I'm glad that this was helpful for you.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
All right, great. Well, thank you. And I will wrap this up and say goodbye to everybody and hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, Ellen. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you and goodbye, everyone.